Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. In this video, I'm going to be talking about XRP and the video game industry. I've also got a piece from Cointelegraph that's talking about crypto regulatory compliance from the perspective of the IRS, new guidelines on what that particular government entity is expecting from you. There's a couple of things that I'll be covering with you. Before we get going, though, if you would please delicately tap that like button, and if you're a fan of Ripple and XRP, go ahead and subscribe to the Moon Lambo channel. In my last video, I promised I would be covering this topic, and actually Hodor covered this in his most recent blog. This is a piece from August 9th, so it's a few days old, titled, "How Gaming is the Ideal Industry for XRP." And I did cover this topic, I think, only one time ever on this channel, and it must have been probably, just pulling from memory, probably about half a year ago. And back then, I probably had about 100 subscribers, so I'm guessing none of you listening, or just about none of you, have ever heard me talk about this. But let's go ahead and dive in here. I have some thoughts on this, and let's roll. This is from, I don't know if I said this is from Crypto Daily, by the way. The blockchain startup Forte has recently said that it is in talks with more than 40 developers about bringing Ripple's native token, XRP, to the world of gaming. And I have to point this out every time somebody in the crypto media says this. It's not Ripple's native token. XRP is the native digital asset on the XRP ledger. Get it right, damn it! Right. A few months ago, Forte announced that they will be both investing $100 million in different firms that make games based on blockchain technology and leverage XRP as a settlement currency. In a new interview with Modern Consensus, Kent Wakeford, Forte co-founder and COO, he has said that it's already undergoing discussions with more than 40 developers after attending the Game Developers Conference in San Francisco. And here's a quote now. "Response has been strong. This has been an incredibly successful GDC for us," with that being the Game Developers Conference in San Francisco. "We met with over 40 game developers and are in active discussions to deploy the $100 million fund. We're looking at existing games with existing items and existing audiences, over 50,000 registered users." And so I'm going to share a little bit more with you on this, but I wanted to note before reading anything further, they are talking about utilizing XRP behind the scenes as a settlement currency. This is not, from everything that I've seen, there's no indication that you'd be paying for digital assets within a video game utilizing XRP specifically. I think that XRP rather is being recognized for its incredible speed and low cost for moving money around the world, which is fantastic. It's XRP, look, it's just really good at moving money. It just is. And the piece continues here. Wakeford has said that the platform is designed to let gamers buy and sell non-fungible tokens using the XRP transaction to settle transactions. It will also leverage the Interledger protocol. Ripple, anybody? Yes, Ripple came up with that one. Which is designed to connect blockchains and route payments across different digital ledgers. Forte has said that they are open to working with any developer building on the blockchain, including the leading smart contract platforms Ethereum, Tron, and EOS, which is awesome, by the way. Do you remember how I've been talking about this a little bit recently? Ripple's plan and the way they see the whole ecosystem playing out as it pertains to cryptocurrencies, this entire new asset classes, they want the whole asset class to grow. They don't seek to utilize XRP for every use case on the planet in which you can use blockchain technology or a digital asset. That's not what Ripple seeks to do. They basically just want their piece of the pie, which is a pretty reasonable position, I would say. And so they want the evolution of the asset class and blockchain industry in general to develop. And they are working on it. And that's why they were happy to write up code for, well, it wasn't just Ripple, the Ripple employees came up with it, but regarding the Interledger protocol, that connects ledgers around the world, not just blockchain ledgers, but traditional ledgers as well. And it's not blockchain technology. But they understood that would make all sorts of different types of things of value, whether it's traditional currency or cryptocurrency. Those other types of value can flow around the internet more easily as well. And so they recognized that, and initially when the thought entered their head, the early thought was, uh-oh, that would be that would mean that everybody can do anything, and how do you make sure that XRP survives? And they ended up, their thought on the whole thing ended up evolving. And they came to realize different digital assets are better suited for different use cases, and there going to be a lot of places for different types of cryptocurrencies. Again, not everybody wants the same thing from every single cryptocurrency. So that's the short answer right there as to why this makes sense and why Ripple is happy to go ahead and invest they're having humans employed by them investing their time, because Ripple is paying employees to do it, to create the interledger protocol, which can benefit other platforms absolutely, including other developers building on top of other blockchains, right? So now here's a quote again. Even though we've partnered with Ripple on the fund, we're agnostic to all of the first level protocols, whether people want to build on Ethereum, EOS, Tron, or any of the other platforms. We built sidechain technology to allow for the portability of these games. We're trying to make this as easy as possible so developers can focus on making great games and designing great game economies. We want to take the challenge and complexity away from them and make blockchain seamless in the background. We don't want the consumer to have to jump through a bunch of hoops. The co-founder has said that the gaming industry, worth $43 billion, is a good place to start for the early adoption of blockchain, as he expects several games to integrate the technology over the next 5 years. And now here's another quote. The blockchain ledger shows the provenance of every item, where it's traded, who owns it, and tracks payments. Now developers can participate in the aftermarket and every trade in perpetuity. That opens up a whole new market for any game, with items where consumers invest their time or money to collect them. New game dynamics and peer-to-peer economies will arise as consumers change their gameplay to earn more of the items. Chasing items will create its own kind of game design. So they're talking about a completely new type of game that may be developed that otherwise wouldn't without this type of technology, which is conceptually kind of fascinating. I want to share this with you. This is on the same topic. Has anybody heard of Wax? I may have mentioned it like one time on my channel, at most, if ever. I started learning about Wax towards the end of 2017, and it was right after I entered the world of cryptocurrencies, and I knew almost nothing. I remember at the time hearing about how billionaire Mike Novogratz had invested in the project Wax, which is Worldwide Asset Exchange. It's basically the buying and selling of digital assets within video games. That's basically what this is. And so I wanted to bring this up since we're talking about it in terms of XRP. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. But anyway, I think since then, I'm pretty sure, I could be mistaken, but I think Mike Novogratz has since pulled out his investment of Wax. Don't know 100% if that's true, but I'm almost certain that I'd heard that at some point. But this company, it was amazing when I was looking into it. I remember thinking early on, and again, it's been, gosh, almost 2 years since I researched this initially, but I thought, oh, maybe there's actual utility to this if they can actually get traction. Maybe there is. I don't know if I re-researched it, I don't know for sure if I'd feel the same about that, just because I know so much more about the asset class in general at this point. But I remember conceptually, and I don't remember much about the project, but I remember that part of the idea was that you'd be able to use these Wax tokens to buy and sell things, because it's amazing to me, because I'm not exactly a huge gamer, but there's a huge market for the buying and selling of digital assets in games. And what I'm talking about is, for example, there's an example provided by somebody that's working on this project where they said, for example, you could buy, maybe there's a game where you need to have a sword. That was the example that was given. There's a custom digital sword. There's only one of them in whatever this game was. And it was sold for $40,000 US, and that stood out to me, and I was like, whoa, holy crap. And so that may have been, the exception, not the rule. Not that most people are spending that much on a digital sword, but it's unique. And if you've got some money and you spend a lot of time in these worlds of video gaming, if you got the money, throw it around again, hey, it makes it unique because it becomes part of your identity, and so people are super into that, and that's fine. That's, from my perspective, whatever floats your boat, man. That's cool. If you got the money for it, go for it. And so, but there's a whole market for this. A lot of these types of digital assets within games, and again, I just gave an example of a sword, but it could be any sort of item within a game. It could be unique clothing, this or that, and they can be purchased on much smaller value in terms of dollars. And the case that they were making, just going from my recollection here, is that you could use this specific token to facilitate these transactions. And then, of course, with it being a cryptocurrency and a blockchain, the transaction happens in real time, and so it's just completely settled. I don't really remember much about the underlying technology, though, so I'm just sharing with you what I recall. So the reason that I'm bringing this up, though, so this is a project out there. Somebody else is already kind of working on this, but understand that the way that XRP is being positioned to work within the gaming world is not in the same capacity as Wax, so far as I can recall. And what we just read, what I just shared with you from the previous article, more so is positioning XRP as settlement moving money around the world, because even with this Wax token, even if you can get some sort of traction, it still sounds to me like it's a walled garden, and you'd still need to be able to settle from walled garden to walled garden. We'll just see. Presumably that's what it looks like, because you're already talking about with with Forte, they're talking about how they're happy to lend money out to developers on top of Ethereum and other blockchains. So these are all going to require interoperability, and we know that XRP is the best way to move money around. So yeah, I'm pretty thrilled that XRP is being positioned for this. We'll see if it really gets traction and if anything comes of this, because I don't believe that every use case posited for XRP will find success. Some of them are just going to fail, but the one that I'm most bullish about, of course, is what Ripple's doing, because, well, first of all, it just makes a ton of sense. There is no other solution that humans have devised ever, and we're seeing real-world adoption right now. So super bullish on that. Some of this other stuff, I hope Coil works out. I hope that Omni finds success with what they're doing. I hope R3 finds that a lot of people want to settle the XRP with their Corda settler in conjunction with the Corda network, which is blockchain technology, smart contracts. I hope that, I hope that there's success in general with what Forte's doing, and utilizing XRP as well for settlement. We'll just have to see, if you fast forward 5-10 years, maybe in hindsight some of this will be more obvious and be like, yeah, maybe that was a bad idea. But when you're in the moment, you're trying to figure this stuff out, it's tough. Just like people in the mid-90s and early 2000s didn't really know exactly the directions things were going to go with the evolution of the internet. We're kind of there, but with a different asset class entirely, a different industry. All right, next piece here. This is a tweet from Lewis Marriott, and if you are listening, Lewis, thank you so much for taking time to contact me on Twitter. I do appreciate it. I liked your question enough that I thought that I'd go ahead and share it on the channel here. And so Lewis tweeted today, and he said, Moon Lambo, in response to your video, Bob Way said there's a mechanism that XRP utility does put upward pressure on the price, in fact. And what he was citing, I think I recall the video that he was talking about. I've said it more than once though on my channel, but it's always humans that are determining the price of XRP. It's not like some algorithm is now in place, XRapid's being used, and now computers are deciding what the price of XRP is. That's just not how it works, though. And I think some people don't really understand that, so I'm always happy to kind of flesh out conceptually how this is working. And so let me just read my response and then Lewis' response here. So I wrote, "Hi, Lewis. I agree with that and stated as much in my recent video. My position is that it's still humans choosing the price of XRP, even with XRapid utility applying, quote, pressure, which is really just influence on humans. Bob is awesome." And Bob Way, he's a former Ripple employee, and he's super active in the XRP community. Awesome dude. I learned a ton from him. I need to rewatch his videos, but he was on Alex Cobb's channel and Brad Kimes. He spent, like, collectively between the two, it was probably like several hours or so. Oh my god, he dropped so much knowledge. It was just a treasure trove of information. I actually seriously need to go back, because I got so much from what he had to say that there's just no way I could absorb it. So I do need to go back and watch those videos. They're from a few months ago. Really good stuff, though. And so Lewis wrote back to me, and he said, "Appreciate the reply. As far as I'm aware, XRapid works fairly autonomously, so don't know how humans choosing the price would apply here." And so I wrote back, "XRapid taps into XRP via liquidity providers such as Bittrex. Bittrex, of course, being the United States partner of Ripple utilizing XRapid technology. So they are an official pool of liquidity for XRapid. So anyway, XRP taps into liquidity via providers like Bittrex and other exchanges. Humans buying and selling on exchanges choose the price of XRP, while XRapid automatically performs buys or sells. It behaves differently than emotional humans buying or selling." And so understand that without humans first deciding what the price is, XRapid wouldn't work. You need humans that are buying and selling it, first of all. Market makers, too, of course. You can have entirely separate liquidity pools outside of exchanges. That's fine, too. But humans are the ones that are setting the market rate. they're the ones. And so because there's an actual price associated with it, then the financial institutions, remittance companies, banks, then they can come in and utilize the XRapid technology to complete these transactions. And so some people think it's the other way around, but it's not. And then I also wrote, what I'm saying is algorithms don't choose XRP price, it's always humans. Even bots buy/sell within parameters set by humans. XRapid works because humans have already decided XRP has a price. And XRapid also, mind you, it has an efficient path-seeking algorithm which goes for basically it routes the most efficient, least expensive route to source liquidity to complete cross-border transactions. That's what it's doing. And so when you see these gigantic spikes up in price of whether it's Bitcoin or Ethereum or XRP, whatever it may be, that's emotional humans pushing the price up. Do you think an algorithm is going to do that? Well, no, there's no sense, because algorithms don't emotionally buy. That's what you see. And so anyway, you see these parabolic run-ups, and it's not just in the crypto asset class. You can see it in pretty much any asset class. And then you see panic selling, and well, algorithms don't panic sell. I mean, functionally, the way XRapid works, it doesn't matter what the price of XRP is. It just needs to be available for buying and selling. And that's why if you're a market maker, your whole business model is to make money on the fees associated with buying and selling. You don't care about the underlying value of the asset itself, as long as it's got staying power and it's going to be there. As long as you can keep buying it and selling it and then buying it again, you don't care if you're a market maker. You just want to make the fees associated with it. Especially so if you're an exchange, you make money on the buying and selling, and it's all automated via XRapid. But understand, if you're on Bittrex and you are selling your XRP, if you've got XRapid enabled, maybe it's an automated buy that completes that completes the transaction. It'll buy your XRP. You won't even know it that it's XRapid buying your XRP, and then it goes to an exchange in a different country and sells it right away. But again, that's seeking an efficient route. It's not trying to do anything else. It's just trying to complete a transaction right there. So again, the way that XRapid works in terms of buying and selling, fundamentally different than the reasons and the ways in which humans buy and sell XRP. And that is a very key point that I want to drive home there. All right, so if you have any questions about that, let me know. I hope I fleshed that concept out enough. And that was a great question, Lewis, so thank you for taking time to bring that up. Very valid question. All right, next here, this is a tweet from Crypto Penny CO that I saw on my Twitter feed and thought I'd respond to. He writes, "I'm having a brain fart, XRP community. Help me out. Why won't banks and institutions care what the price of XRP is when moving big money from point A to point B?" Well, because banks and institutions won't be holding XRP, at least not at first. I would not expect any banks or financial institutions to be holding XRP anytime soon, or necessarily ever. Maybe they would in the future. That's a whole different conversation, but certainly not at first. And so since they won't be holding it at first, they don't care what the price of XRP. They just care that it exists and there's pools of liquidity to complete the transactions. The banks do not care what the price of XRP is. Exchanges don't care what the price of XRP is. They just want you to keep buying and selling it. And in fact, when there's parabolic runs up and big crashes down, exchanges don't care. They love crashes down because that means people are panic selling and there are a lot more transactions. There's a lot more volume there. So there you go. And also be worth mentioning too, in terms of how can, I should have mentioned this in the last tweet, it's the same topic really kind of, but when there is a lot more volume showing up on exchanges, typically when there's a lot of volume around anything, you can run into wash trading type scenarios with this type of thing too, but it can trick people into thinking there's a lot more excitement going around there is in terms of wash trading, but not XRapid, of course, isn't wash trading. I'm not saying that, but when there's a lot of volume going on at these exchanges, that will catch people's attention and it can cause people to buy. And so in terms of the pressure being applied, that is another point I wanted to make. I'm glad I just thought of this. I would have regretted it if I didn't remember this. So pressure being applied price-wise because of XRapid, yes, it can exist, but I want you to understand that it's still humans deciding the price of XRP. So if there's a bunch of volume and that triggers people into buying more XRP, yes, that can cause a huge run-up in price. It could, especially if there's a whole lot of volume and activity thanks to XRapid, if that happens. It can cause pressure. It could cause it slowly over time, or there can be big parabolic run-ups. So there is validity to that. But again, that is separate from an algorithm determining the price of XRP, which is not happening. It will always be humans, whether humans are programming the bots or the humans that programmed XRapid to buy and sell in a particular way. It's humans deciding all of this. And the huge run-ups, those are, if you're talking about the real major run-ups, that's pretty much all going to be emotion, all the parabolic type stuff, and then it'll come crashing back down. That's the way that works, though. So that's why banks don't care, and that's why also exchanges don't care, market makers don't care what the price of XRP is. As long as it kind of continues to exist, they'll be happy. All right, next tweet here. This is from Mr. Cugs on Twitter. Dear XRP community, can't you all like the hell out of this so I can pin? I want to make Bitcoin maxi sick to their stomach. And then he's got screen capture here. Let me pull this up. And so presumably these are screen grabs, I'm guessing from BitHomp, and it's showing accounts set up on the XRP ledger. And so this one states the username is U.S. Federal Reserve. Here's one, Banco Santander. Here's another that says Royal Bank of Canada. Here's another that says Standard Charter, First National Bank, Bank of Tokyo. All right, and this is old stuff. Check this out. So, because here's what's happening, and this does keep coming up. People are thinking that this means it's super bullish for XRP and something big is in the works behind the scene. Not so much. Rabbit Kit Club responded to this. Let me just share. This is a short thread I do want to share with you. You need to be aware of this because otherwise you might see this and be kind of fooled. So Rabbit wrote, notice how the next sequence for all those addresses is 1? That's because they have never been used, aside from the transaction that activated them. This list surfaces every few weeks and it has been debunked many times. It is clearly someone who name squatted, think domain squatting, on more than 2,300 addresses. Those addresses were only used for Ripple trade, and they are thus no longer useful, not by banks, etc. Somebody named Mike Abernathy wrote, they put those names in hoping they could sell them at a later date, and Rabbit says, that is correct. Mr. H wrote, my God, Rabs, that's like 20 plus replies. And then he tipped him 5 XRP. Thanks for explaining. I hope the people you replied to will help in a few weeks debunking the next person who thinks he discovered something from 5 years ago. Then Rabbit wrote, thanks, H. I'm sick of seeing this BS rehashed over and over again, so I really hope people can start debunking. Frankly, it's depressing to me to see hundreds of likes on a completely bogus tweet, especially with how much development and progress is actually happening. And then Mr. H wrote, it's weird, isn't it? I often wonder if these people know the actual product they are holding and if they realize the capabilities and value. So there you go. If you come across this, it's just debunk it. Just say no. It's not a thing. All right, last piece, then I'll wrap up the video. This is from CoinDesk, titled IRS Warnings to Bitcoin Traders Offer Clues to Coming Tax Guidance. Here we go. As U.S. cryptocurrency users eagerly await tax guidance from the Internal Revenue Service, they can find hints of what may come in the agency's recent warning letters. The tax collector said earlier this year that its first guidance on crypto since 2014 is coming, but it's not clear what information will be provided or when it will be published. IRS Commissioner Charles Rettig said at the end of May that guidance could come within the next 30 days, but that loose deadline has passed. Yet the 3 form letters sent last month by the IRS to more than 10,000 crypto traders asked taxpayers to verify that they filed their taxes due on crypto gains and losses correctly, or amend their tax filings, one under a penalty of perjury. And reading between the lines, the letter suggests changes in the agency's approach to the asset class when compared to the past public statements. Take, for example, how the 3 new letters instruct traders to calculate the fair market value of cryptocurrency holdings. The letters tell traders to look at the exact date and time they conducted a transaction, diverging from its guidance from 2014, which said to apply the exchange rate in a reasonable manner that is consistently applied. Okay. What is reasonable, though? I hate it when they have language like that. That's the IRS, though. Reasonable. Okay, that could mean anything to anyone. All right. As an illustration, say you bought 5 Bitcoin on April 10th, 2015. The 2014 guidance says to pick a price at some point during the day and use that to calculate fair market value. Bitcoin opened at a price of $243.69, fell to as low as $232.77, and closed at $236.07, according to CoinMarketCap. Any of these prices could work, as long as all calculations for all taxes were consistent. The recent letters instead direct you to look at the exact time you bought the 5 Bitcoin and use the price at that time to calculate the value. My God, guys, is this not the biggest headache? They're setting rules, they don't know what they're doing when they set them, or guidelines, you want to call them guidelines, and then they change it years later. Whatever. Anyway, that's more sensible in the view of James Faust, a senior research fellow at industry advocacy group Coin Center. If someone has multiple transactions over the course of a day and there's significant volatility, it doesn't make sense to apply the same daily exchange rate, and also it could result in some weird outcomes, Faust said. However, this may pose an issue for traders who now have to find this information, said Sean Ryan, Chief Technology Officer and co-founder at crypto tax software provider Node40. He noted that the letters call for taxes on transactions conducted between 2013 and 2017, adding, here's a quote, "Now they say date and time, and that does matter because we know that virtual currencies fluctuate minute to minute, trade to trade. So by saying it's no longer susceptible to date accurate and has to be date and time accurate, it throws a wrench in the system because they have to go back and find that information." Oh, how lovely, isn't it? Oh, Lord. Alright, that's it for this video. Thanks so much for watching. I am not a financial advisor. Do not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo!